Well, how about this for an early Christmas present? It's an early tactical insight looking at how Arsenal went into a game top of the league, stayed top of the league. How a 2-1, or should I say, it should have been a 5-0, can look like a 2-1 because, quite frankly, Graham, it should have been more. We're going to break it all down. Graham and I are here to talk Ødegaard, to talk Zinchenko, to talk about the right-hand side coming together, to talk about some of the chances we created, to talk about the trade-off that there is in Zinchenko and the fact that he does so much good, but another error. He followed the Brentford error last week. We're going to talk about it all. But we've got a lot to be happy about here, Graham. This was a good performance.
It was, James, yes. Another win, another home win. The 6th successive home win in all competitions since the beginning of October, which has pushed Arsenal 4 points clear for 24 hours at least until Man City play Tottenham Hotspur tomorrow. A fantastic start today, a real electric start. I thought, me and you in the stadium today, that first 15 minutes we scored 2 great goals, a fantastic team goal. And we should have been more ahead by half time. We played some great football. The right-hand side, as you said, was absolutely cooking. And we were in control at half-time. Second half, I thought the tempo dropped. Understandable, maybe, with 2 goals ahead. And then, of course, we made that mistake at the end that led to a slightly nervy finish. But I think 2-1 flattered Wolves, to be honest.
Massively so.
And I think overall, it was a good performance. The game scoreline was tighter than the actual game, is my view of it.
Yeah, I agree. I felt that, it's like I said, it was a 5-0 dressed as a 2-1 because not only did Wolves do so little, I actually felt this was our most fluid performance. I felt we cut through them a lot of times. We were attacking centrally. We've talked about this on Tactical Insight, that we don't always... We attacked down the wings more so than probably most other teams. We were going down the middle. Ødegaard had a part to play in that. We start with the match stats as we always do. We had 19 shots to their 6. Honestly, don't even remember them having 6, but they did. I believe the stats. 6 on target to their 3. 57% possession to their 57 to their 43. Yep, 550 passes to their nearly 400, and a much better XG of 3.16, which shows you the quality of chances we were creating as well. Attacks, that's always looked good. 81 final third entries. I mean, that's very good. 81 to 37, 51 deep touches. A zone 14, 17 zone 14 touches there, 11. And a field tilt of 74%. Defensive stats, they made 2 more tackles than us, but we doubled them on interceptions. They doubled us on clearances, and our passes per defensive action, 8.3, highlighted what was actually a really good press from Arsenal. They went man for man. We saw Zinchenko going up to the wing back, as Tomiyasu did as well. Quite similar to the press I think we showed against Brentford in the last show on Monday. But there is more context to some of those attacking numbers that you have done your fantastic research on. I'm going to read them out and take credit for it. That Arsenal had no goals in the opening 50 minutes of Premier League games this season and created just 1.4 XG in that time, 0.11 per match, which is the equivalent to 1 average shot. In this game, first 15 minutes, obviously we had the 2 goals, 2 shots, 0.3 XG, 8 touches in the box and 52 final third touches just in the first 15 minutes. So Arsenal, they came out firing in this game. It was like the Arsenal of last season that we've all longed for, and then we remembered with the late goal, I see why we don't long for it as much sometimes. But it was quick from Arsenal. They came out flying.
Yes, and one of the criticisms this season is that we haven't been scoring early goals. Obviously, if you score an early goal, it does massively change a game of football, doesn't it? And it's almost like the Lons game today just continued from Wednesday night. And you know, the team came out firing today right from the off and scored 2 very good goals, a brilliant team goal for the second goal. And I think, you know, last season, this is what we were getting last season from the team. This season, I think they've been playing more controlled football at the start of the games and haven't been really on the front foot. But I think today, and we're going to talk about this today, I think one of the reasons for that was the re-emergence of Martin Ødegaard in that right-sided number 8 role, because I think his numbers this season have dropped quite a lot from last season, and that's part of the reason why I think we haven't been creating so much. But today I thought our captain was back to his brilliant best. This was his best performance of the season. All our threat came from that right-hand side, down that right-hand side in the first half, particularly that first 20 minutes. Not only the goal, both goals, although the second goal I think we came from the left-hand side, didn't it, from the Zinni's cutback. But there was other chances from that right-hand side. Ødegaard, we're going to talk about today about the 6 chances he created. He was first in so many numbers. But I think part of the reason was our right-hand side was so good in that first 15 minutes. We opened them up on their left-hand side, through our right-hand side on a lot of occasions in that breathtaking start we had today.
I think you're right. I mean, let's take it to the tactical pad, and we've got the 2-11s here. Interesting that Trossard actually came back into the number 8 position. I thought the way Havertz played, he was maybe going to keep his place. I thought he was good against Lens, but he kept his place, Trossard. And if we move the players up the pitch, as we always do, let's just start with the sort of front 5, and we'll get Tomiyasu in there too. What I thought was really interesting was, I think Tomiyasu, actually let's get Rice in there as well, because we know Rice will operate more on that left-hand side when Zinchenko inverts essentially. I think it's to highlight these 3 players, as you can all see on your screen there: Rice, Ødegaard, Tomiyasu, Saka. There was a much better interchangeability between them. They were understanding each other. We talked about the right-hand side last year being so fluid with Partey and White in there, but it looks like more connections are being formed now with Tomiyasu and Rice in there, playing a lot more regularly and deservedly playing in those positions. At times Saka was a little bit more central, so Ødegaard could hug the touchline, and Tomiyasu was inverting. At times Ødegaard was getting the ball out to Saka, and as he held the ball, Tomiyasu was making overlapping runs as well. So there was a lot of interchangeability on that right hand side, and even though the goal that we are going to break down, Ødegaard's goal, technically comes from the interchanging on the left, it's built up on the right, and then it's a cross that leads to that happening. So, and then of course the first goal is all right hand play, build up, Saka giving it to Jesus. There's a lot of brilliant stuff down that right hand side, like you mentioned.
Yeah, there was, and I think this season when we've done the show, we've talked about a lot about the role of Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
And Saka himself in press conferences has talked about the fact that he's doubled up on. There's always 3 players coming across.
Yeah.
And I think what I've seen in the last 2 games is Saka coming a lot more narrow. The way the play builds up, and then we've seen like Tomiyasu now sort of like emerging not just as this dependable fullback, but almost like this rampaging right-sided attacking fullback now. And I think when he first come to the club, he had a reputation for being a great defender. He could play in the middle of the defence. Although he could get forward, I've never seen this from him, but I've seen in the last 2 games. He got an assist today, he got an assist on Wednesday night. And I think there's a lot of confidence in him now when he goes forward. I notice a lot, Saka comes inside, him and Ødegaard combine, and then Tomiyasu goes on the outside, and Saka's not afraid to give him the ball. He gave him the ball on quite a few occasions today, and he was getting crosses in like he did for the assist on Wednesday night. So I think the emergence of Tomiyasu obviously has come at a time when Ben White's been suffering from injury, and Ben came on as a sub again today as he did on Wednesday night. But Tomiyasu is almost like now looking like not just a great defender, but more like great going forward and supporting the attack. Yeah. And he was one of the reasons why, along with Ødegaard and Saka, that right-hand side was so fluent and interchangeable today and worked so well.
Of course, and we hope that obviously Tomiyasu is okay at the time of recording.
Looks like a calf strain, I think.
They mentioned calf, they mentioned fatigue. They basically also said that they weren't willing to take any risks, and I think that was the right thing to do. I think getting White and Kivior on that pitch made sense. But he had some other stats and numbers he sent around our right-hand side. Credit to Cannon Stats for a lot of this, that they completed 23 deep passes down the right-hand side in the first half. This is 16 deep passes were completed out of the 23 attempted. 5 of them were key passes with an expected goals assisted of 1.0. Pass efficiency. Now we saw this stat and we thought,
what does that mean?
What does it mean? But credit, Cannon Stats explained it, and you can see the graphic on Cannon Stats on Twitter. But what they were basically saying is, it's essentially there is a expected pass completion rate. So if your pass completion rate is 85% and you actually do complete 85% of those passes in that right hand side in the first half, then that would be 100% efficiency from what you were expected to do. We had a pass efficiency of 125%, which I guess is saying that we were far more efficient in the final third, down the right hand side in that first half than perhaps we should have been. Everyone was clicking and the passes were coming together, which shows how well we played on that side.
Just one other thing, James, before you move on to the next piece, and that is, I thought the passing on that right hand side was really crisp today. Yeah. And I think they moved it very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, when we've been building up a little bit more slower, we haven't got the ball out to the right-hand side so quickly. Mm-hmm. But what we did really well today, I thought that we moved it a lot quicker through the thirds, and we got it out quickly to Saka, and then we supported him very quickly as well. Ødegaard coming inside, and Tomiyasu going outside, and then the 3 of them working situations. And also Gabby Jesus dropped over onto the right-hand side. He played a big part in the first goal when he played it back to Tommy, who played Saka in. So I thought the passing was more crisp today, and we moved the ball far quicker on that right side.
I agree, and I thought Saka as well was finding some really great pockets and passes, and you know, he was knocking it on and then making other runs. By the way, on that pass efficiency stat, we think we've got it right. That's my interpretation of it. Let us know in the comment section below if I've got it wrong. I want to talk about Martin Ødegaard because he came to life. His best performance of the season for me. We've got numbers that back that up. 6 chances created, ranked him first in the game. 87 attempted passes, ranked him first. 77 of them completed, ranked him first. 52 passes in the final third, first. 13 progressive passes, first. 2 final third possession wins, first. 97 touches, second. And 3 crosses, third. Those were his rankings in game. He was the conductor, is that fair to say? It felt like we were channeling all our football through him.
It felt like he was back to his best. This was definitely his best performance of the season. He was first in so many numbers, most passes, most progressive passes, most I think deep completions as well. Yeah. Even that stat,
he was dropping deep.
He was dropping deep, so he was working off the ball. Yeah. What I love about Martin Ødegaard is, even this season, when his performances haven't been quite at the level last year, and we've talked about this, some of his decision making probably hasn't been as good as it was last year, because he was so good last year. I have to say that. But I thought today he was sort of like everything that I like about him. He was pressing hard from the front. He was working back, and he was back to his best, almost like. We talk about how Zinchenko is great for the team, you know, in attacking play. When he plays well, the team play well. And the same can be said for Ødegaard. When he's sort of like conducting the play up high, like you said, and he always sort of like finds that right pass, doesn't he? He hasn't been doing so much of this year, but I thought today he was back. And that goal he scored was obviously a great team goal, James, but the finish, he finished it with such aplomb. Yeah. This was the Martin Ødegaard that I loved last season, and I hope he can kick on from here. We're
going to break down that goal in a sec. I think it's right we'll leave it to last because we're going to talk about Zinchenko as well and his role to play in that. He had an Opta rating of 98.2. They rank him out of 100 or rate them out of 100. For context, his Opta ratings in the last 5 games was 77.4, and his season in general is 75.2, so that tells you that Opto accumulated all the data, all the numbers, and compiled a rating out of it. Also, you know, just 98.2 out of 100 is absolutely phenomenal. I thought Ødegaard's performance was really, really interesting, and I kind of wonder whether I've heard him described in a lot of ways. You just said right-sided 8. Some people call him the 10, some people call him a creator. Some people compare him to Maddison and say, when we got Ødegaard, we should have got Maddison. We were on a video on Tactical Insight about a year ago saying, I think you can have both in midfield. I actually don't think they're very similar players. Is he an 8? Is he a 10? Is he a creator? Is he a tempo player? Should he play deeper? Should he play higher? He presses from the front. He receives from deep. He does so much. Now, I'm going to hold my hands up. I'd left the game thinking he was brilliant. He got the goal and he should have had 2 assists. I then said on my fan cam, and anyone who saw my fan cam will know what I'm talking about here. I was curious about how I would process his performance, Ødegaard, because in the stadium, I found myself frustrated at times. Now, I know it's cold. You're 2-0 up and you know what Arsenal are going to do. They're going to concede. We need the 3rd. And he's my captain, and I'll always hold the captain to a slightly higher standard. That's probably not fair. He was brilliant though. Now, what we've got here, I'll just get up on the tactical pad, is Ødegaard's passes from the game. All 77 of the 87. And, I mean, the lighter blue that I'm going to point out here, let's show them in yellow. The lighter blue are all the chances created. These are all passes he made that led to shots for his teammates. And we saw that he created 6 chances in the game as well. He also, though, actually in that final third, when he was sort of coming around goal, he actually did misplace a few. I'm highlighting a lot of them there. There were a few misplaced ones. And I think, as I was kind of watching it, and there were a few moments where I felt he tried a ball that didn't quite work, and Tomiyasu overlapped him, maybe should have passed it. What he was always doing, he was always at the forefront of everything we were doing. And then I thought, but I'm confused because there's been a lot of praise, and rightly so. I felt he was very good. And then I had a look at this. I've broken down his first 70 minutes and his last 20 minutes. And in the first 70 minutes, he hadn't quite found his final pass. He was brilliant at everything, but he hadn't just that final pass. And then he creates these two moments for Trossard and for Eddie Nketiah, and then he sets it up for Saka. That was a really, by the way, that looks a simple assist from a Saka, or a simple chance creator from a Saka shot. We did really well to work the space, and he was doing some brilliant things, Martin Odegaard. And it got me thinking, right, I don't think he's a 10. And I know he doesn't play as a 10 for us. He doesn't float in the 10. He's a right 8. But I think because he presses from the front, he's the more naturally creative of the midfielders on the pitch. We think that he fills the 10 role in the team. But I don't think he's a 10 because we channel all our football through him. It's about him creating and making things tick on the right-hand side. And actually, he can play killer passes. And he should have had 2 assists. And he can make magic happen in the final third. And he gets goals. But he's also not, how do I put it? He also isn't like, he's not someone like Bruno Fernandes who will have a high volume of trying to push things into the box. Now in this game he did, but I almost think he's got a little bit more ball retention to him and a little bit more game management and control to him. So I'm saying all this to say that he's fantastic, but I think we're still learning what kind of player he is, whether he's a 10 or an out-and-out creative central midfielder. Do you get where I'm coming from, Graham?
I do get where you're coming from. I've always seen him as a right-sided number 8. I don't see him as a 10 because of what he offers. He offers, obviously, attacking-wise goals and assists and creativity. He presses from the front. He works hard. But the other thing that sets him apart from a 10 is you don't see a 10 sitting deep and sort of doing the sort of things that he does, or he works back or he comes short. In the last game against Lens, he was clearly sitting deep in a 2 with Declan Rice. This game he was more forward. So I think he's a definite 8. He's a midfield. He's not a 10. A 10 is somebody who sits behind the striker and creates. Obviously a 10 can press, and he does that as well.
And he can create.
Yeah, I agree. He's not quite the same as Bruno Fernandes. They're different type of players. So I see him. I've always seen him as a right-sided number 8. He can play, of course, on the left-hand side as well. I think he could play 10, but I think he's got the attributes and the skill set of a number 8.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, when you look at some of his goals, I kind of think maybe we are missing the point. We've got it here on the tactical pad. I mean, look at this goal, right? So we know Saka swings the ball in and Zinchenko gets it. And what he does here, I mean, Zinni's brilliant, but actually, let's highlight Odegaard first. In yellow again. He's there, but he barely moves. He goes to about there, but this is just textbook Odegaard. It's vintage. He's been doing this almost since he arrived at the club, hanging towards the edge of the area, scored against Man United doing this kind of thing, waiting for the cutback.
And against Chelsea. I think it's a team movement. I think it's a team goal. We said it's a team goal, James, before you carry on breaking that down. And I think I've noticed this is almost like, this is off the training ground for me. The way they switch it from right to left, create the space, 1-2, and then they move players around to create the space for him to come on and have that shot. I've seen that now quite a few times. I think it's a team movement. I think they work on it on a training ground. And
he knows where to be. So when the ball comes to Zinchenko here, and he put a lovely 1-2, by the way, from Jesus and Zinchenko, but he just knows. I think Zinni just knows. He must look up. But I think he just
it's
thinks,
instinctive. He knows what's going to happen. And so as that movement is taking shape, you said he doesn't move much. He knows what's coming.
I think he does.
So what they do, Arsenal, they work it really well. So the defence pushes back, and that creates the space for him for the cutback.
I mean, and then we've still got the goal against Lens, which we sort of loosely broke down the other day. We'll just play it through here. But when Saka's running and Tomiyasu makes this brilliant sort of overlapping run, this is Odegaard box crashing. This is box-to-box midfield stuff. This is, getting into that area and then just finding the corner. The way he attacks balls on the edge of the box, where he receives. In fact, let's get his passes back up on screen. Let's do it. Look at where he's playing so many of his passes. I mean, yes, it's, we've got a big cluster in this area here. He's not doing as much. Let's show it in orange. He's not doing as much in this area as he is in that, because he just isn't 8. He's an 8. He's a number 8.
He's a right-sided 8.
Yeah.
So
he could do it on the left.
He could do it on the left, and I think today all our chances, and he created 6 of them, came from that area. So you can see that is demonstrated in that map that you're showing there of his passing actions. He's, clearly that's where he's effective and where he influenced the game today. All our best movements came in that part of the pitch.
And you're probably all wondering why I'm going on this spiel rather than just sort of sitting here and waxing lyrical over him. He was fantastic. He got a few things wrong in the final third, but the reason I mentioned the few things wrong he got in the final third, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm counting a few passes, but the reason it's fine because when you redefine him in your mind as an 8 who is creative and can make things happen, but he's not your prime source for all creativity because Saka can create, White can create, Trossard is in the left space to create, Jesus drops in to create, and you start to see him that way. You go, wow, this is a number 8 who does all the hard work, gets us ticking, plays all the football, but can have that impact in the final third. And you suddenly go, that is an incredibly complete midfielder. And that is where, to anyone who watched my fan cam, I thought I was being harsh. Like I said, give me a minute to process the performance and see how I'm taking it. And actually, my takeaway is that actually it's how you look at him and what you're expecting him to do. And what he did, I think, in so many aspects of the game was fantastic, Martin Odegaard.
He was back to his best today. He set such high standards last season. 1 or 2 bits of his decision making this season have been probably not as good as last season. But he's also one final point to make on him is that he's a risk v reward type of midfielder. He's not a safe. He can play safe, and in fact, I've been criticising him in some games this season where he's been taking the safe option too often. So if he's trying to make that killer pass or make that killer decision and he doesn't quite get it right, I'm comfortable with that. I really am, because I want to see him use that ability to open a team up. I don't want. Sometimes this season we've been on attack, it's gone to him central, and there's been an opening. I've screamed at the TV or in the ground. I've seen the pass. And obviously he's on the pitch and he's got to see it. It's easier to see it in the stands. I get that. But sometimes he's taken the safe option and just pushed it out left. I want to see him doing what he did today more often, and even if he's going to misplaced 2 or 3 passes or make 1 or 2 wrong decisions. When he gets it right, nobody gets it right like he gets it right.
I'm smiling because 2 things. A, I'm a hypocrite because I can't call for more creativity from the team, more fluidity, more creation.
If they're not going to take that risk
from Odegaard. And not expect him to get things wrong because he's meant to be taking risks. But then I looked at the numbers and I thought, surely this will prove my point. He had a pass completion of 89% in this game. His average for the season is 82%, so he actually upped it.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. Sometimes numbers can really confuse you. Let's talk about Zinchenko. He made an error for the goal. He did. You mentioned that maybe Declan Rice's part to play in that wasn't perhaps brilliant. We're talking about it off camera. Not that it was his fault, but just that maybe it left Zinchenko with a little bit of work to do to clear the ball. Am I putting words in your mouth? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I said to you, I thought, it looked like to me in the stadium that Declan Rice first touch wasn't brilliant, and he played it to him and put him under a little bit of pressure.
Right.
And he takes a touch when really he needs to get rid of it.
Yeah,
but we can't. That's the way he is as a footballer.
Yeah.
So what you get with him is that's how he plays, how he builds up through midfield, and that's how he constructs our attacks. So I get the fact that you could argue that in that situation he made a bad choice, but I thought he was played under pressure by Declan Rice simply because Declan Rice's first touch, he got away, and then he just pushed it towards Zinchenko, who then was caught by the Wolves attacker. So it still is in his error, but I think Declan Rice doesn't do him any favours.
If I remember right, I think Declan Rice was doing a little bit of defending in that situation, so I kind of forgive a loose moment in defending, trying to deal with the ball. But you're right, Zinny should just pump it out. And what is so frustrating for me is that I'm a big Zinchenko fan. I love what he adds to this team, and I just felt he actually did so much good. I mean, we broke down that goal and his move, that touch, because he takes it first time. He doesn't take a touch and then play it to Jesus. He takes it first time because he knows he's got to execute it now. Pass in, overlap, cut back, brilliant.
Everything.
Gets the assist, fantastic. He also gave the ball away against Brentford.
Yeah.
This wasn't just, and he clears off the line, but it's from his error as well. So he has these moments in him. Now, people said that he was making a lot of errors in the game. I wasn't so sure about that. We got his passes from the game. 72 of 76 were successful. And again, if I just highlight in yellow, the ones he gets wrong, I mean, they're not exactly in areas of the pitch that I think are, let's clear that one again and do it again. They're not exactly in massively dangerous areas of the pitch. That I think obviously this one is, and then in this area is where he makes his error, which leads to the Cunha goal. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't make errors in game. He's not frustrating. He is. He can be. And I actually think he had lapses of concentration. But two things I want to say about this. The same player that gets those things wrong is also executing this pass across goal, this pass across goal, this pass across goal, this pass across goal. All of these, cutting the pitch up and getting us playing, and also getting us forward, feeding Martinelli in these areas. The guy who got this assist right here. He's also the guy doing all that. Now, Arteta said after the game, Zinchenko's how he plays, and you're going to have these moments. And I think he's willing to forget, because there were moments in the game where I was watching and I thought, ooh, that was a tight space. But you executed it. And most of the time he executes it. And when he does, it opens the game for Arsenal. And I don't think it's any surprise that as he's starting to play his best football, we're starting to create more chances. 3 goals against Burnley, 5 against Sheffield United. Should have had 5 really today, 6 against Lens. And listen, I'm not trying to absolve of blame, but I feel like an Arsenal performance which you've created that many chances and he's played so many brilliant passes, the error is poor, but it doesn't matter if we're 4-0 up, which we should have been.
Well, you can't blame him for the chances that were missed, can
you? Absolutely can't.
I think so. Odegaard created 6 chances, and we didn't take the chances we should have done. I think it's a worthwhile debate you're having on Zinchenko, because the debate is what he offers you going forward in the way he builds Arsenal's play and in attack better than what he doesn't give you in defence.
Are the errors worth
it? If he does, well, not the error. The risk.
Yeah.
But he will make the odd error. But I think it's more than compensated by what he offers the other way, because he offers so much the other way. He offers goals. He offers midfield progression. He offers support out wide. He can do so much, and he is, I think, one of the reasons over the last few games why we suddenly started playing better, because since he's come back and got back to the levels we know he's capable of, the team's looking better. So I'm willing, from my point of view, if I was Mikel Arteta, I would sort of move on from that quite quickly. He made a mistake, accept it, but I'm quite happy with what he gives the team. And if he does make the odd error, I'm willing to accept that for what he offers going the other way.
I agree. Well, I think there's 2 things, which is, firstly, I also think it's fine in the 85th minute of the game for him to readdress his mentality as we get to the last 10 minutes. Maybe a punt is fine. Maybe just clearing this is fine, because we don't need to play out of every situation. So I'd like his judgment to be a little bit better. But what I'm saying is people were so critical of him for that error, but I felt he played a massive part in getting us that fluidity and ticking. And I'd be more frustrated, not at the individual performances of Jesus, Trossard, and Nketiah, all these players who were brilliant, Martin hitting the post. They all did some great stuff. I'd just be frustrated at the missed chances and go, Arsenal as a collective should have been so far ahead before this Cine error mattered, which was very late in the game. I also think, I've seen a lot of people saying defensively he's a liability. I understand.
He's not a liability for me. I think
this was what I was going to say. Because that moment happens near our goal, it's seen as a defensive, it's an in-possession error. And yes, it led to a goal, and I understand people talk about it as a defensive thing, but I also saw a player, he never got beaten in the one-on-one duels, or maybe once, but Martinelli covered for him. He was very good otherwise, generally. He won his headers. He had a really good shape today. He was intercepting. He played a part in Arsenal completely nullifying any Wolves threat until that goal.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit overstated, this whole Zinni's a defensive liability. But I think he's got errors, as we pointed out from the Brentford game too, that he just needs to iron out.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't think we'd be having this debate if we'd taken our chances. If we'd 4-5-1 up,
no
5-0 up, 4-5 up. We're having this debate because we're only 2 goals up, and the error leads to them getting the score back to 2-1 and a nervy finish. Yeah. So, but I come back to my original point, and that is that when Declan Rice, it's a loose touch when Declan Rice, and he plays it to Zinchenko, who then thinks he can take a touch, but the space is closed so quickly, and he had to make an instant decision, and he made the wrong decision. But Declan Rice, and I've been, we've sung the praises of Declan Rice on every Tactical Insight show this season, and he was brilliant again today. But it was a slightly loose touch from Declan Rice, and he played it to Zinchenko, and Zinchenko was literally, the space closed so quickly. I don't think he had a lot of time, but it looks bad because the ball got taken off his foot.
Sure.
But you are right. He could have maybe just hoofed it quickly, but that's not the way he plays his football.
No.
You know, he's not that type of footballer.
No.
So you have to accept all the good things he does, but recognise that maybe occasionally that's what goes the other way with it. But yeah, so...
Yeah, I get you. Actually, there's a few other players I want to shout out as you get your roundup stats ready. We're nearly ready for the roundup stats. Saka, I thought was brilliant. Obviously, got the goal, 16 total duels in the game, the most of any player. He also won the most duels and had the most touches in the opposition box. Trossard was the most for shots on target, shots in the box and big chances. I also thought Trossard did a lot of really good defensive work in the middle of the pitch. I thought worked really hard and actually was looking more an 8 than I've ever seen him. Rice, most for interceptions with 5 and second for tackles. I felt the way he shielded though that back four, some of the passes he played. There was one he played into Tomiyasu, I think, and then Tomiyasu played across goal to Jesus, so arguments for a penalty, but we should have scored in that situation. Rice was my man of the match. But just some other players I want to shout out. Jesus, I've been mentioned there, brilliant on the first goal. He's just such a focal point, gets us playing. So just generally...
Declan Rice was your man of the match?
He was for me.
Not Martin Odegaard?
Rice edged it.
Not Odegaard?
No, and this is why people are going to think I'm a hater. I'm not a hater. I love Odegaard. Yeah. When the Odegaard-Maddison debate was being had in 2021, I said give me Odegaard. So don't you dare come at me for not rating Odegaard. I love him. Yeah. But Rice... I was watching him in all game, as I am every game.
And I get that, because I'm in the stadium today, and you are watching Declan Rice, aren't you? Yeah. So, and I thought Declan Rice was brilliant today. I just thought he had a loose touch there that led to the Zinchenko error. That's all I'm saying, but I accept that you're perfectly entitled to your opinion that he was man of the match. I thought Martin Odegaard was man of the match.
Odegaard, I think, was really our match winner. Yeah, Eddie should have got that goal.
Yeah, he should have done.
Yeah.
Right then, mate.
And
so
Trossard.
Closing stats for this week then, James. This was Arsenal's 6th straight win across all competitions since the beginning of October. We've scored 19 goals, we've conceded just 2, and we've had 4 clean sheets in that unbeaten run. Here's a great stat. I love this one. I'm digging up a stat about Bukayo Saka now every week, because you know how much we love him. Yeah. Bukayo Saka's opener was Arsenal's 100th goal of 2023, becoming just the 5th big European league side to reach that total across all competitions this calendar year. Can you think of some of the other 4 that you think might be in that? There's one. Man City 137.
Bayern Munich.
Yes, 111.
Real Madrid.
119.
Barcelona.
No. This is a shock one.
Napoli.
No. One of our ex-players plays for them.
Marseille? I don't know. I thought Aubameyang for
Granit.
Bayer Leverkusen?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So so we become the 5th European league side, Big 5 European league side to score 100 goals in 2023. The others, as you said, were Manchester City 137 goals, Real Madrid 119, Bayern Munich 111, and Bayer Leverkusen, who are having a sensational season in the Bundesliga. Leverkusen have got 110. And while we're talking about Bukayo Saka, another stat for you of our star boy, he's now scored more Premier League goals for Arsenal. Today was his 36th than Cesc Fabregas, who had 35.
Wow.
So from one star boy to another. And finally, James, our man of the match, my man of the match, was Martin Odegaard. He created 6 chances for Wolves, and you'll be pleased to hear that only 3 players have created more in the Premier League this season. That is how good he was to me today.
He was fantastic. Look, everyone, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below on everything we've discussed today from Zinchenko. Are there errors worth forgiving when you look at what he adds going forward? Let us know your thoughts on Martin Odegaard. Is he an 8? Is he a 10? How do we get the best out of him in a consistent basis? Because when he is playing, Arsenal play. Arsenal found their fluidity, just didn't have a scoreline to match. I arguably think we were more fluid in this game than perhaps the Lens one. I don't know. It was a weird one. You know, in that Lens were really poor, but Wolves, listen, have it out in the comment section below. I'll be there to chat to some of you, as Graham will be too. A big thanks. Hope you enjoyed this early upload of Tactical Insight. Subscribe to the channel, and on Monday, it's all preview content for Luton. The football comes thick and fast, and we'll keep you up to date with it all on AFTV. Catch you in a bit.